so a Halo show finally landed. It had some ups and some downs, so let's get into it. First off, I played the first game for a few hours back at a friend's house when it was first released. We didn't really bother with the story mode, just messed about on it and killed things really, as you do. Later on though, I ended up reading the Fall of Reach novel, which I thought was a good, entertaining read and fleshed out a lot of the backstory, and is what fills in the majority of my understanding of the Halo universe. I also watched some YouTube Halo show back in the day, plus some Red vs Blue. Otherwise, I came into this looking to see what Paramount had to offer. Would they utilise this expanded universe beyond the games? Or just go the route Disney did with the sequel trilogy and dispose of prior expanded universe? The opening had me worried. It had a rather cheap feel to it all and was rather exposition heavy, filling us in on the Spartans being the most deadly soldiers in the universe. It all feels a bit clunky. We then skip ahead to Quan, who's seemingly on a drug run with a couple of buddies when she notices something and decides to investigate. She stumbles upon an alien ship and bolts. Tries to convince her friends to run with her, to varying degrees of success. Now this is where the show went from 0 to 100. I wasn't actually expecting this degree of violence, but I'm here for it. Eventually the big scary Covenant, the alien species, wipe out the settlement with some frustrating character antics thrown in for good measure, before the big man arrives with his squad of Spartans. Some of the action wasn't too bad. We had some weird Quan POV shots that were annoyingly restrictive at times because she's our entry into the universe. We follow her as she runs around in a circle to watch her dumbass father get killed. They also had this hilariously bad callback to the games where you discard weapons. This just looked awful and affected the serious nature of the scene. Anyway, before I knew it, we blitzed through 20 minutes, so I'll give the show that. It started off rather quick, even if I didn't like all of its decisions. Now, my main problem comes in the fact that the show is clearly going in a different direction to the lore, the story I'm used to. I was googling who the hell Quan was partway through the show as I didn't remember her, or was she a character she might have replaced, like was she a stand-in for someone else, like did someone else have this storyline? She's probably my main cause for concern. I feel like we're going to get a Halo version of the Mandalorian, which feels tiring already. You know, quiet killer with a code, takes abandoned child under his wing, can't pull the trigger on them, etc. This also doesn't feel like the right fit for that type of story either. You think Halo, you think war against aliens with big floating ring-like planet, not a surrogate father looking for redemption with his new daughter, who is known for like 5 minutes. I know the USNC has this fascist Nazi look going for them, but I kind of agreed with the logic of offing Quan. They had a moment to unite and make everyone aware of this alien threat, and Quan just outright blackmails them and says it's a hoax. We later find out that they had her mother killed, but even then you would think she can think a bit more clearly about the situation if she has the senses to blackmail the USNC. Now, onto the big man, the Master Chief, John 117. I'm not sure how fans are going to take him unmasking himself early on. I imagine it's similar to Judge Dredd fans and Stallone.
I knew you'd say that.
But in terms of this episode, it just feels off. He's sort of a blank slate, but it feels like we're going down the RoboCop route of this guy trying to reclaim his humanity. Is this what we, the audience, want though? When I think of Master Chief, I expect him to be gunning down aliens and bad guys, not going on the run with a rebel teenager. If you have no idea about the Halo universe and you're coming in fresh, this show's probably confusing. And the argument might be, well, of course, this is for the fans of the games and its established universe, which, in that case, why did they ignore the prior universe? You don't have to follow it all, but you could take quite a few bits and pieces and roll with it. This being the first episode, I'm happy to check out my next couple to see if the show can find its feet. Pilot episodes being notoriously hard to get right, but I'm cautious. At the moment it feels like we're getting this budding family drama with this teen character I really can't stand. Out of all the stories they possibly could have done for Halo, them deciding to go down this route feels a bit of a head scratcher really. So far, this show just seems to be missing that bit of oomph.